Do you think the media is doing enough to promote justice and accountability?
Yeah, I think the media has been doing a good job over the last few years. There's been a lot of awareness on what it entails international justice crimes or transnational crimes. And over the years, because of increased awareness of what entails and what is supposed to be done to the victims and to the citizens, I think the media has picked up fairly very well, and they're doing a good job over the last few years, in my opinion.
Having been a journalist who's been reporting a lot about international criminal justice systems, what kind of challenges do you think you yourself and other journalists could be experiencing in reporting about the same?
I think initially one of the biggest problems we faced was lack of awareness, lack of information on what exactly is the international justice mechanisms like the ICC. We also had issues of lack of information on the processes of ICC and broadly the international justice regime as it was and as it is at the moment. But over the time we overcame that. There was a lot of information coming over from the various groups, from the civil society, partly the ICC outreach and a few other organizations. And after that, we now started facing other challenges of dealing with, for example, the propaganda that was all over the place about the processes as they were. They were fairly political processes, not just legal process. These were politicians charged with international crimes, and they were very powerful politicians, and they were controlling parts of the state. They are government officials. And therefore, the challenge of propaganda versus the truth, objective reporting, was the challenge that we faced as Kenyan journalists for the longest part. The rest are the normal journalistic challenges of trying to balance stories, having enough training for some of the things that we are supposed to do, enough support from our media houses to do the sort of stories that we wanted to do, and also accessing resources and so on and so forth, accessing some of those places where we needed to interview the victims, interview the people, community people, and so on and so forth. So those are the challenges that I think we faced.
In your own view, do you think there is proper or adequate explanation of international criminal justice?
Yeah, I think the discussion is all over the place, in places like led by institutions like WAYAMO now, and many others who have played the same role of demystifying the international justice regime.
How can journalists or the media in East Africa collaborate better to ensure that we are fighting impunity and we are demanding for accountability?
More networking through initiatives such as the one WAYAMO Foundation is doing. Increased collaboration between the journalists and the tribunals and international justice mechanisms like the ICC, the ICTR, and all the residual cases and so on. And also the other institutions like the African Union who are involved, the UN Security Council, who are involved in some of these processes. We need a closer collaboration between all the players in the international justice sector and the media for better understanding, because at the end of the day, it is the media which reports about these processes.
Do you think, for example, the media have a role in inciting the masses, and how would you, or what would be your advice to the journalists, especially whenever we have these sensitivities of conflict and violence?
Even as we do our work objectively, we have a role to see these things through prior, to hold people to account for their statements. In 2007, some of the politicians made very inciting comments or public opinions which they expressed, and they were broadcast through our media, our platforms. But now, arising from that, in 2013 election, we learned our lessons as an industry. We were more careful. We selected what to air. The politicians can say this and this and that, but we filter those things and say only that which builds the electoral process, builds onto the electoral process to make it more positive. And as a result, we sort of filtered so many other negatives which ordinarily or in the previous regime would have gone out and probably incited people and so on and so forth. So the both media in Rwanda and Kenya, they have had the experience before. They should know better. We expect the media to be more vigilant and to employ certain mechanisms like the ones I've just explained, to ensure that only the rightful messaging, or to sort of guard the electoral process so that it doesn't run out of control and, you know, get people killing each other and so on and so forth. We have a lot to learn, and there's more that we can still do better.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.